This video is brought to you by the EA Creator Network. Hello again everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome to another speed build video in The Sims 4. I hope you're all having the most amazing day ever so far and thank you so much for joining me here today. First and foremost, thank you so much again to the EA Creator Network for allowing me early access to The Sims 4 Enchanted by Nature, and we are building a dream fairy house in the new world of Innisgreen, I'm pretty sure the world's called. From what I've seen so far, bear in mind this is my first build, and the only lot that I've actually taken a good look at within the world itself. I'm getting really good vibes from it, very whimsical, very magical, very fairy-like of course. So I think they really did nail the world style and I'm just so far very pleased with the pack. Now I can't comment on gameplay or anything like that, so I'm just going to make that disclaimer right now. When I say that I am really happy with the pack so far, I simply mean that the world itself, from what I can see so far, looks gorgeous. The build and buy I'm personally really happy with. I think it fits the fairy aesthetic, the fairy theme. I think everything works really wonderfully with other packs, as well as the items themselves obviously work really well together from the pack itself too, which you would expect, of course. But yeah, I for one, I'm really pleased so far. Now, my opinion may change the longer that I play with this pack. Who knows at this point, but regardless, I'm very excited to share this house with you all. Now, okay, so this is a 30 by 20 lot. This is the first lot that I decided to just like jump on into. I'd done various research on Pinterest. So this image is kind of a mishmash of about maybe 4 or 5 different images that I found on Pinterest. So that like I just basically mashed them all together in my mind and created this fairy-esque house, I guess we could call it. Now, the house itself, whilst it looks to be a pretty generous size, it is only a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom house. So this really is only suitable for either a single sim or a couple of sims, with there only being 1 bedroom. So I think the sort of thought process for me was if I was playing with fairies, which I am considering doing, I'm going to be honest, which I know is probably a little bit of a sore spot for some of you, because I did start a let's play with the businesses and hobbies pack and then I very quickly ditched it. I don't know whether necessarily that was to do with the pack itself or whether it's just me not being super into gameplay. I'm not entirely sure. So I am tempted to try and dabble in a little bit of gameplay myself. But if it were me starting out in this world with this newer cult, I would be creating simply 1 fairy and really just trying to understand that sim rather than trying to understand like a bunch of different fairy sims. I feel like you can definitely overwhelm yourself if you go in with too many sims to begin with, and so that's not necessarily something that I would want to do. So if I do dabble in gameplay, it's likely going to be an extremely mini series, or it's going to be a video sort of compiling all of the information that I have personally gained learning about fairies themselves. So I'm not entirely sure as of yet. If that's something that you'd be interested in, please let me know. But I do understand that most people come to my channel or come to me as a creator for builds rather than gameplay. But if my opinion matters in terms of gameplay, then I'm absolutely more than happy to put that together, if that makes sense. But back to the build and more about these incredibly whimsical build and buy items that have come with The Sims 4 Enchanted by Nature. Now, I was really quite happy with the amount of items that we got. I think we got a really well-rounded set of items, although I do have some thoughts to share. So I am going to be sharing them as the video goes on. But back to the items specifically, I think, as I was saying, they're really well rounded. They're very matching with the theme of fairies. When I think fairies, I think the team really nailed the style. Everything's very dreamy, whimsical, magical. It feels like a fairy pack, definitely. I didn't really struggle to create a fairy house with the items that I had at my disposal. Now, granted, at this moment in time, I do have access to all the packs. I did not get super early access for this particular pack, so I wasn't restricted to just base game plus the new pack, which is a shame because I do enjoy that access, because I really do think it gives me a good sense of the pack itself, because I'm not able to intertwine all of the packs. So it's good to have both experiences of super early access and then regular early access, that you can see the pack by itself with base game plus the pack integrated into other packs that we have in our library at the time. So there's that. Now, something that I was thinking about whilst I was building this house was, I've seen a few comments floating around social media, such as, you know, and I do agree in a certain sense, absolutely, with what I'm about to say. So just bear with me while I try and stumble through this. There's a lot of people that are saying, well, okay, yeah, the items are great, but how versatile are these items? Can I use these items outside of Innisgreen? Yes, I think you could use some. I'm gonna be very, very clear about the fact that yes, I think you could use some of the items outside of this world. However, the items for this pack are niche and they are for Enchanted by nature. But again, I would argue that the same goes for werewolves, the same goes for vampires. Do I use a lot of build and buy from vampires and from werewolves in, say, like a regular family build? There's probably the odd item that I might gravitate towards without even realising it, but more often than not, I'm using those items if I'm building something specific for either vampires, or werewolves. And I think the same applies for Enchanted by nature. So if you're looking to get this pack because you think it's going to be versatile, maybe don't get it if that is the sole reason that you're going to be buying this pack. Do I think the build and buy is stunning? Absolutely, without a doubt. Do I think it fits with the theme? Yes, absolutely, without a doubt. Did I find it really easy to create a fairy house? Yes, I really, really did. So based on that alone, I really enjoy this pack. But again, can I see myself using a lot of these items outside of this setting? Time will tell. I think it's definitely worth noting that time will tell. I might be eating my words, you know, in the next couple of months, or I might be sat there going, yep, I thought this exactly. But anyway, you can see that the shape of the house is pretty much taking shape, and the shape of the house is taking shape. Well, duh, of course it is. The house itself is pretty much coming together really quite nicely. I did have a few roofing clipping issues, which is not like, you know, because of the pack. I think it's just down to the fact that of the pitch of the roof, the shape of the roofs, the fact that all the roofs are slightly different, etc., etc. So you'll see how that kind of affects the build when we move on to the interior. But one thing I was really missing is my tool mod and my better build by. I always forget that those two mods tend to break, completely understandably, by the way, when a new pack is released, especially with a new world and obviously new items added to the build by catalogue. And I was missing it because I wasn't able to copy and paste like debug items, for example, something that I've been taking for granted over the last few months. Since installing both Tool and Better Build By, I've definitely taken that for granted. And when I was doing this, I was just thinking, oh no, I can't copy and paste anything because it's not working. And I was like, oh no, what am I going to do? So what I'm likely going to do, because this is not up on the gallery as of yet, because the pack itself isn't released yet. That's not necessarily a bad thing, by the way, because there's certain things that I'd like to tweak with this build before I upload it to the gallery for you all to download. So I'd quite like to use my tool mod and just lower some of the foliage and just make sure everything's working as it should be, and just finalizing some details where I'm thinking, well, I can't do anything about that right now, so I'm just going to leave it. But the debug in this pack is really nice as well. A lot of the items, like look at this pine tree. That is that a pine tree? It kind of looks like a pine tree. But yeah, a lot of the debug items in this pack are really, really beautiful. They actually reminded me of cottage living. I can see some of the pieces are either the same or very similar to cottage living, but a lot of it's also really new as well. So like the little mushrooms here, look, and like these bright pink flowers. And I also love the fact, I can't believe I haven't spoken about this yet, we can now add like foliage to the roofs of our builds. Like you can see that I've done it here, although this does change in just a second, because I decided to do a little bit of filming off camera. I did a little bit of playing around, messing around, just a little bit of experimentation with how that sort of new feature works, and I didn't really feel like you all wanted to see me struggle with that. So you'll notice that I have added some details to the roof here. It's the low-lying grass with like the little daisies inside. I just thought they fit really, really well with this particular build, and I really like how they looked. The landscaping at the back, like not on the build itself. So like obviously this I don't think this is wisteria. This is called something else. I can't remember for the life of me what it's called. But I did include this in the footage. But one thing I did not include was the actual like landscaping itself, sort of around the hill, because I wasn't able to use my better build by to copy and paste the debug. So I think, again, that would have just been a really tedious process for you all to watch. And so I was like, I don't think anybody is going to want to watch this. So another thing that I'm going to be tweaking and sort of making sure is right before I actually upload this particular house to the gallery. I want to make sure everything's right, everything's perfect. And that's that. One thing I did notice, actually, I'm going to call it wisteria just for the purposes of this video, because I'm not 100% sure what it's actually called in the catalogue, so I do apologise if that's incorrect. But one thing I did notice is that my sim, because I'd put some of it like near the front door, my sim wasn't able to get through the front door because they were like, well, the wistaria's in the way, and I thought, ooh, that's strange. Is that a bug? Or is that intentional? I just found it a bit odd. So I'll make sure that it's fully play tested before I upload this as well, because it's only partially play tested at this moment in time. I'm just gonna whip my phone out for a second. And so it's currently, as I'm recording this voiceover, it is 11:15 at night. I have been at work all day, but I did want to get this video up for you all today because I wanted to showcase the new pack and this build as well, because I've been working on it since yesterday, and so I was really excited to share it with you all. But I don't know where I was going with that, by the way. I'm clearly very tired, but you can see that we have moved on to the interior of the build. Now I did use a lot, and I mean a lot, of items from the new pack, such as some archways, some doors, the flooring, the wallpaper, and the fireplace. Like obviously I just tried to use as many of the new items from Enchanted by Nature as I possibly could. I tend to do this when a new pack is released so that I can see how they work, which swatches I like, but you will see a lot of indecisiveness in me with this particular interior, although I have spoken about this before. I think when you're creating like an occult house or an occult build, I think it gives you a little bit more creative freedom, because you're not, I mean, I don't know whether this is just me, I wasn't overly concerned with things being super matchy. I didn't mind adding things that didn't really feel like they fit, but they just added this whimsical sort of charm to the build. And so I think when you're creating occult builds, definitely gives you more of that creative freedom, at least in my opinion. Like there's so many plants in this build. You're gonna get sick of me placing some of these, so like they're house plants that your Sims can take care of, which is a feature that I really appreciate actually that they've added with this particular pack. It's not a feature that I've personally played, it's a feature that I have seen in passing, but I have put a lot of potted plants in the interior of this house. And what's really neat is the game tells you when the plant is not going to be functional. So for example, I put a plant on top of the bookcase. The game was like, just to let you know, that is not going to be, your Sims are not going to be able to tend or care for that plant up there, just as an FYI. So I thought that was a really neat idea, so I will likely swap that out again before I upload this to the gallery. But honestly, looking back at this, look how colourful and whimsical and just so beautifully strange this room is. I really wasn't sure about this going into it, because I wasn't sure what to expect. I haven't really seen too much of the new build and buy items from Enchanted by Nature. I've tried to stay away from it this time so that I'm seeing it for the first time in my own content, which is something that I don't tend to do. I will at least have a look at some other people's videos or have a cheeky look. I've seen screenshots in passing, but it's mainly been for like the exterior of builds as opposed to the interiors. So it was just really nice for me to see these items like for the first time on camera. So thought that was really nice. And I also think usually with a new pack, my first build with the new pack tends to be not my favorite. It's like a learning curve, you know, when you're just your brain's trying to work out how to utilize the new items, what to do, which swatches do I like, which swatches do I not like, what shall I avoid, etc, etc. I don't know if that's just me, but I'm hoping that the longer I have this pack, the more ideas I'm going to come up with and the better the builds are going to be. I'm not saying this is at least in my opinion, this is a bad build. Obviously, there's going to be people that look at this and go, really? It's not going to be everyone's cup of tea, just like anything, I guess. But I'm rambling. Oh, it's like really late at night for me. I'd normally be tucked up in bed by now, but I'm not. And that's okay, because I would much rather be doing this, she says, even though I'm super tired. But anyway, kitchen, not my favorite room, although I do appreciate that the team added a whole new kitchen and cabinet set, counter and cabinet set with this pack. Although I would have really liked to see a new fridge and a new cooker added, because I really struggled, and I did change these out actually, so you'll see that they are different in the screenshots at the end. Why did they not add a new fridge and cooker and bin as well? I just feel like it just seemed a bit odd. And also something else I found quite frustrating was that we have a double bed. We have like a 4-poster beautiful bed, which we did use upstairs. There's no single bed. There's no single bed. They added a whole new bathroom set, which I thought, again, was incredible, because if you're creating a fairy house, they're likely not going to have like this super sleek, modern bathroom with like minimal decor and stuff. It needs to be in keeping with the rest of the house, right? Why would you not add a fridge, a cooker, and a bin? Serious question. Like, why? And we even got a new sink as well, which matches with the cabinets. Oh, sorry, the countertops. It's like we got a new dining set, new rugs, like pretty much everything that you're seeing in this build, bar a couple of items, like the clock, the plant on the left there. They are from this new pack, but there's just a few bits that are missing for me. Like, I would have preferred if they'd have left maybe some of the decor pieces out and thought, okay, well, we'll move the budget and we'll utilize the budget in a slightly different way, and we'll give everybody a new fridge and a new cooker that matches the fairy-esque vibe. Because I even think we got a new fridge with, what's the name of the pack where we got spellcasters? Oh, please don't be yelling at the screen right now. It'll come to me at some point. I feel like we got a fridge but no cooker, or a cooker and no fridge. I'm not 100% sure about that, by the way. I'm just going from memory, which could be completely false. But anyway, the majority of the ground floor is now done. As you can see, because the outside is such an odd shape, that did affect the floor plan, obviously on the interior as well. But it's okay, it's a fairy house. Again, you can get away with it, which I actually really loved. This is the bathroom set that I was referring to. Fits in with the nice fairy vibe. I really like that. I've also seen that fairies can like shrink themselves down and wash themselves in sinks. Absolutely adorable. Love that feature. Again, I'd really quite like to explore some gameplay at some point, whether it's this weekend or I don't know. I'll probably put a poll up on the channel at some point. If you want to see another build, we'll do a build. If you want to see some gameplay, we'll do some gameplay. But I wanted the bathroom to be in keeping with the rest of the build, and it is quite a large bathroom when you look at like the other rooms not being super big. you know, they're actually quite pokey is maybe maybe the term I would use. But this is like the weird entrance area. I had no idea what to put in here. I really struggled, so I don't even know. I think I just put some shelves up and then like the little fairy house that your Sims can go into. It's the fairy house that was in the trailer when they're like throwing a party, and I think I pull that out. Yeah, I've already done it there. So there's more plants, of course, and then we move up onto the upper floor, which is where the one and only bedroom is, and this is the 4-poster bed that I was referring to. Really beautiful, really stunning, but there isn't a single bed version, which is a bit disappointing, but I apologise for the rambly voiceover. I'm going to put it down to the fact that it's late at night and I have a lot to say, which I've now come to the conclusion is not a good mix. Anyway, so this house will be available to download once the pack is released on Thursday, so keep an eye out for that. My origin ID is RachelPedd. Tray files will be linked down in the description box below. They'll be through SimFileShare. But thank you so much everyone for joining me here today. I really hope you enjoyed this video, even though I feel like I've been quite opinionated in it. So I do apologise, but I hope you enjoyed it nonetheless. You all take care, and I will see you all again very, very soon. Bye.